Hey guys, I've been delinquent on videos as usual because there's a couple of reasons, and I'll go over that right now. I'm gonna have to first and foremost, I'm gonna have to I'll have voiceover for this entire video. Somehow the wonderful GoPro camera got switched over to the wind reduction setting, and the audio was cutting out constantly as I was editing. So I'm gonna have to do a voiceover anyway. The first reason I was obviously is the reason I wasn't videoing as much as usual is because been extremely busy, as you will see. And the second reason is I get really frustrated with the whole YouTube situation, and I shouldn't let it bother me that much. But it's one of those deals to where you see other videos that are similar to yours, like an engine rebuild or something. And you know how many hundreds of engine rebuilds I've done on this channel, and how many transmission rebuilds and retrofits, and I'll be lucky if I can get 15,000 views, 20,000 views out of a video over months. Uh, and I have very good loyal subscribers, but there's just things that just don't add up to me. The subscriber count uh, doesn't go up as fast as it used to. It still goes up, but the views don't go up. It doesn't make any kind of rational sense as to what's going on. And I know that somebody will get on there and say, well, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. And then you'll click on their channel link and you'll notice that they don't have any subscribers or any content. So I kind of disregard that, to be honest with you. I don't really pay any attention when you haven't walked a mile in anybody else's shoes that does the things that you're telling them how to do. So anyway, and what brought me around to making a video is I got a phone call from a guy up in Canada that was a real good guy and was very appreciative of the videos and missed watching the videos. And then I heard from another guy that called me from Southern California, said that he was on the internet and he was on some forum, repair forum, and everybody was talking about me, how they missed my videos, and that and I actually think the subscriber count. I really think the subscriber count and the views are way higher. I think they're manipulating them. I think it. I think basically YouTube. I think they're thieves, and I think they're stealing from me. Yeah, I really do. So I mean, you may disagree with that, and that's okay. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So, anyways, I'm gonna keep going and pushing forward on this. I'll quit crying about it. Uh, I felt bad about not making videos, and then I got to thinking I was a quitter, and I don't want to be a quitter. So anyway, we're going to continue on here. So let's get on with the projects, and I'll start discussing some of these projects we got. This project right here is a 2015 F350 Ford, and uh, my best friend is the shop foreman up there, and they mainly work on trucks. They don't do this kind of stuff, pull cabs off pickups. I don't even think they've got a car lift in the shop because they're a fuel distributor and they work on all their bobtails, and they've got bobtails and transport trucks and all kinds. They've got a lot more stuff to do than work on pickups. And anyway, what we found out and we think what happened is they're running 15W40 in these 6.7 Power Strokes, and if you're familiar with 6.7 Power Strokes, uh, it says right on the oil fill cap, and that's actually what I'm looking for right here, and I walked right by it. But if you read the oil fill cap, and it tells you right there to use 10W30. And in the wintertime, if you read your owner's manual, and I think it says on the fill cap too, that you can run down to 5W40 in the wintertime. So 15W40, I don't know if it's the oil pump tolerances are tighter or there's tighter tolerances between the bearings. I'm not really certain. The viscosity, obviously, there must be tighter tolerances somewhere to where the oil's not flowing the way it should with 1540. So what happened is it spun the rod journals, connecting rod bearings on number 1 and number 5. And so I've got the box sitting over there, and we ordered a brand new crank. The crank was only like $730. I mean, I think they were charging me the last crank that I had ground on an automotive application like this. I think they charged me $500. So why even why get a crank ground for $500 when you could spend $230 more to get a brand new crank? So, but it did kind of partially spin one main bearing. I mean, the bearing shell was kind of rough on the bearing side of it where it goes against the main journal, but the bearing cap and the bore, you could tell, you couldn't even tell there was any damage period at all. So we're going to plastic gauge every single thing on that thing to double check it, and if it needs machine work, we'll have to send it up there and get it line bored. So on to the next project that I've been working on that I needed to discuss with you, and I'll go over these. We'll start videoing a lot of these as we go together. Now that the wintertime routine's in and I've got a little bit time to spend in the shop instead of being called out in the field every 5 minutes. This is the one. This guy here is a 2009 Peterbilt. He got a letter from the California Air Resource Board, the commies down in Southern California, that said he could not operate his own property anymore. And it had a CM871 in it, and he had another shop put an X15 in it. And this is the one where the wiring harness was butchered on it and had household AC wiring nuts on it, electrical wiring nuts. Well, found out what happened. The VIN number that the wrecking yard that he bought this engine from, and they supplied this VIN number to him, was the wrong VIN number. He gave that to the shop. The shop ordered a harness from Custom Truck, and it was the wrong harness. And it's just like any other electrical component. You cannot return it once you basically open the box. It's all yours. So I got communication with my laptop via this harness, and it still plugs into the ECM, but there's just everything else going to the after treatment system's wrong because it's off the wrong VIN number. So I got communication with it there and got into, if you go into features and parameters, you can go to the what is it, the trying to remember here, you can go to I'm having a brain fart here. You can go in the features and parameters and you can find it in one of those files there. Data plate, that's what it is. Go into data plate and it'll tell you what truck it came out of. It came out of a 579, a 2019 579 Peterbilt with a, and it gave me the complete VIN. So anyways, we gave the owner the right VIN. He's got a brand new harness coming for it. The right one, actually. All right, guys. Sorry, I had an interruption there. I had a customer show up, and I had to make him a hydraulic hose. But anyway, back where I left off on that retrofit project over there. So he's got a brand new OEM harness. So you know you're going to have your Cummins harness, which is on the Cummins engine side, which Cummins is responsible for. But also on these OEM harnesses, there are certain things on the OEM side that Cummins is responsible for too. They're responsible for the after treatment system. So I was laying my hand on, that's an after treatment relay panel that we got. And that harness will plug into that after treatment relay panel. And then the after treatment harness will actually plug into the relay panel and go to your DEF quality sensor, your DEF tank, and your NOx sensors and all that stuff over there on the other side. So what I'm pointing to here is I got the fuel system plumbed on it. And those are, the return is an M16, which is a metric fitting. It's a metric O-ring boss to number 8 mel GIC, and the supply is an M22 O-ring boss to number 10 mel GIC. And I think the owner, he's coming up with the harness and a clutch, and I think he's got all the brackets and the mounting to get this DPF SCR catalyst mounted correctly, and I think he's even got a step, the newer updated SCR step for the 389 style. So anyway, we're going to be going back together on this. This retrofit will not be too bad, I don't think. And here we go with a CM870. This one really took a shit. This one here, we overhauled this engine about a little over a year ago. This guy here, he's a pretty good friend of mine. I worked with this guy for years at the strawberry nurseries. He wasn't a mechanic, but he was a field hand, and he's a really good dude. And so I was doing everything I could to help him out. Money was tight. He was just getting started. and I didn't want to gouge him, and I wanted to treat him fair because, I know what it's like to not have any money and just trying to get rolling, and he bought this truck used, of course, and I think the first thing that happened is the front structure was leaking like a sieve, and like 2 weeks later, it dropped a liner, and we had to completely overhaul it. We had to cut the counterbore ledges and shim the liners up, but he could not afford the Cummins parts. We had to go with some cheaper aftermarket parts. So what happened on this thing is the liner O-ring, where the groove is in the liner for the O-ring, when I pulled the pan off, that liner had just broke, and it just like sheared right perfectly where the O-ring groove is. So then of course the piston came up, and it was beaten up against where the O-ring actually seats right below that, inside the block, and it kind of damaged the block. I really think what happened is that liner had a bad casting, and it must have been cracked where that liner O-ring was. So anyways, I took multiple pictures of the block damage, and the machine shop said, go ahead and strip it down, we can fix that. So he's going back. He bought another truck, but he's going to use both of them, and he wants this one fixed because he's a lot better off than he was last year. So anyways, that one's going to go to the machine shop and get completely stripped down, and it's going back together with Cummins parts. So yeah, that's I talked to him, and he's a lot better off than he was last year, and he's going to go back to with OEM parts. That way we're not doing this again, and he's not holding me responsible. I showed him. I said, I've known the guy for 20 years. I said, you know me. If it's something I did and I screwed it up, I'll stand behind it. I said, but I'm just going to be honest with you. Those are bad parts. That liner's no reason that liner should break right in the middle of the liner, right at the O-ring groove like that. So anyways, that being said, hopefully, I don't know what the timeline is, the machine shop. I don't know how long they need it. And that cylinder head that we bought was a brand new head too, and it didn't damage it very bad, really. The bottom side of that head looks pretty good, really. It just tweaked one valve, one exhaust valve tweaked a little bit, so we'll fix that too. So on to the 3306 cap. This one here is a retrofit project. It's going to happen. It's going to be down the road a ways. This guy's doing it incrementally because he's not rich, and he's kind of doing this as he goes, so he doesn't go broke doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this 3306 cat in a hay squeeze, and a 3000 series Allison in it. He bought this engine from, I'm not sure who, but the reason they pulled this engine and put another one in, it was knocking. And so I completely disassembled this engine to find out what the knock was, and as you can see right here, it was a small end bushing on the rod. And I'll explain to you what I found when I was disassembling this engine. Anytime you pull a cylinder head off, before you just keep gutting everything, look at the top of the crowns of the heads of your pistons and see if there's anything that's way different than another, and that'll usually lead you to the right place every time. So I went to cylinder number 3, and the top of the piston was just washed completely clean with fuel. It was spotless, like somebody had put it in a solvent tank and cleaned it up. And I thought, well, you know what? I bet that's probably going to be the problem area. And sure as shit, we flipped it upside down and started pulling rods and pistons, and number 3 wrist pin, small end bushing, went bad. So anyways, we're going to completely go through that engine. He found a set of Jake heads and a Jake bridge for it too, and we'll put that in a hay squeeze once we get it all rebuilt. And coming out here right now, I'm going to show you another hay squeeze conversion that we've got to do. That it'll be another fun project. And this one here, we've got all the parts and everything that we need ready to go. We just got to get the time to do it, which obviously is probably not much. But anyways, I had another guy show up with a PACCAR here as I was videoing, so I got to make another clip on this. Okay, now I got a truck coming that's derating or something.
he's heading over here right now. Anyway, we'll make this quick and short because I have to plug into him, see what's going on. So, this is an ISC 8.3. Josh bought this last year at an auction. I went to the auction to look at it for him, and I popped this intake boot off, and I noticed the turbo was bad. And so he bought it. I don't know what he paid for it. He got it pretty cheap. And I put a turbo on it and had the charger cooler hot tanked, and Josh took it home to Medford and got down over the hill there, and I had the damn hoses reversed or something on this hydraulic fan, and it wasn't working. And he swapped the hoses around and got the damn fan working to where he wasn't overheating. Anyway, that was my screw up. But anyway, it's got an Allison 3000 series with 8.3 ISC Cummins with a caps pump in it. We're taking this engine transmission out and we're putting it in an old Roadrunner hay squeeze, kind of like what we did on the last one. So this one will actually be easier though. This 8.3 will fit in there a lot nicer. I think we're going to wind up doing kind of the same thing and cutting the frame just like we did on that other one, because it's kind of the same setup. But anyway, so that's kind of the lowdown on all that. So well guys, I kind of got to get going here. I got to get my laptop out, and when he shows up here, he's real close, and plug into this PACCAR pile of shit and see why it's derating. So I'll be with you here shortly.